This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
SMEs encouraged to thrive at the 5th SME Business Breakfast. Foreigners deported successfully by PNG Immigration. And NFA appoints 4 new Special Procurement Committee members. Good evening, you're watching National EMTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Both aspiring and successful micro and small to medium enterprises in Papua New Guinea were encouraged to thrive in these trying economic times as the country is on the road to economy recovery. Prime Minister James Marape made these comments during the TISA Community Finance 5th SME Business Breakfast this morning at the APEC House in Port Moresby.
The TISA Community Finance 5th SME Business Breakfast held this morning was well attended by representatives from business houses, SME and MSME owners, foreign diplomats and officials from the government. Prime Minister James Marape, who delivered the keynote address, said his government's focus is to grow the economy and SMEs play a vital role towards this.
In this space, obviously our end game, we were targeting Papua New Guinean businesses to be beneficiary to a growth economy. And it is no secret, 4 years on, most of you would have known me by now. My major focus remains growing our economy.
He then took the opportunity to give a brief update on the progress of the country's economy.
For the first 27 years of our life, comparatively, our economy grew by less than 15 billion kina. It was 5 billion, under 5 billion in 1975. It became under 20 billion in 2002. If you put 2002 as a page marker in your mind, and if you run to 2022, our economy today is 113 billion kina economy.
Prime Minister Marape said PNG has the potential to be greatly prosperous. He then suggested income-generating sectors for Papua New Guineans to tap into.
I point to you agriculture. I point to you sustainable forestry. I point to you fisheries. We have the agriculture department, we have the fisheries department, we have the forestry department on standby to assist Papua New Guineans who are mobilizing your clan, your network, your family.
In his closing remarks, this was his message to foreign businesses operating in country and those who are interested to invest in the country.
For a foreign business, don't be offended, but you are welcomed, but you operate at the space where you are operating. For those who are currently in business with us, and we are having a holistic look at the reserve business list so that you come in and operate at your level, leaving the space of businesses that are reserved for Papua New Guineans to be participated by Papua New Guinean businesses alone.
This is the 5th TISA Community Business Breakfast, which was hailed a success, with SMEs coming from throughout PNG to showcase their products and services as well. Lindy Suharupa, National EMTV News.
Australian businessman Jamie Pang and 9 other non-citizens have been removed successfully by the Immigration and Citizenship Service Authority to their country of origin over the last 6 months for various criminal and administrative charges.
The Chief Migration Officer Stanley Sulahau stated that these removals are done either administratively through conviction or after being acquitted by the courts. Mr. Sulahau said removal orders are being successfully implemented with the successful removal of over 8 foreign nationals, while others, including controversial Australian businessman Jamie Pang, were deported. In the case of Jamie Pang, he has been banned from entering PNG. The Chief Migration Officer added that ICSA is working working closely with other state agencies like Customs, National Fisheries Authority and the police on several other cases that are still pending investigations and court appearances. He said, and I quote, "Until these cases, including suspects involved in the recent drug bust, are being investigated, prosecuted and referred to ICSA, we will act within the precinct of the Migration Act to remove or deport them. At this stage, some of these cases are still under investigation by relevant state agencies, including the police." End quote. ICSA is working with the police and other line agencies to ensure non-citizens who are not fit and proper persons to live and work here are removed. These include foreigners suspected of being involved in transnational crimes, money laundering and drug smuggling across our borders, and their cases are pending. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape delivered a heartfelt message urging Christian women not to lose hope in their sons amidst the growing social challenges faced by young men in the country. Addressing the audience at the National United Foursquare Women Convention 2023, held at the Sir John Gais Indoor Stadium, Prime Minister Marape emphasized the importance of supporting and embracing troubled sons within the family, church and community.
Committed to fostering positive change, supporting the youth and working alongside faith communities to build a stronger and prosperous Papua New Guinea, the Prime Minister spoke from the heart to convention goers.
And having said this, I just want to give you all our fullest assurance that, humanly speaking, your government is working very, very hard to ensure that our country gets better. And especially, and in one of my first few statements in 2019 when I took office, I said I will measure my own contribution to my country in few manners, and one of the measures in which I will measure whether we have done it better for our people is the safety of my daughter and her generation in our country in 10 years' time.
Prime Minister Marape further highlighted the government's Second Chance education program, encouraging the congregation to welcome these young men into their churches. Prime Minister Marape shared his pride in the program's success, stating that over the past 4 years, a new lease of life to 50,000 young men and women were given through Second Chance education. Recognizing the pivotal role of the church as a source of positive influence and guidance, Prime Minister Marape extended his call not only to the Foursquare Church, but to all faith communities across the nation.
In our Women and Mothers and Girls program, and also the male youth and men programs in the space of SME, I offer to you that space where we could be in partnership with.
In an impassioned appeal, Prime Minister Marape urged mothers within the church not to be discouraged or disheartened by their sons' challenges, but rather to embrace and support them. By doing so, Marape believes that these young men will in turn become protectors and advocates for the women in the neighborhoods. Together, this collective effort will contribute to a better Papua New Guinea in the years to come. Acknowledging the multitude of issues facing the nation, Prime Minister Marape emphasized the need for collective action, calling upon women to stand by their sons during these trying times. Drawing inspiration from the national anthem's call for the sons of Papua New Guinea to arise, Prime Minister Marape rallied all young men across the country to rise up for the betterment of their homeland. Prime Minister Marape reiterated his government's commitment to assisting churches and announced the contribution of 200,000 kina to cover convention costs, even though the Foursquare Church had not requested any financial assistance. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
National Fisheries Authority today witnessed the swearing-in of the Special Procurement Committee to work for NFA to ensure that public funds are properly used by NFA. The 4 committee members sworn in today were Laurie William, Samson Metofa, Lillian Vevara, and Veari Hitolo. This special ceremony was witnessed by the media, staff of NFA, and the Managing Director, Justin Ilakini.
The swearing-in ceremony of the Special Procurement Committee for the National Fisheries Authority took place today at the Stanley Hotel. Following the swearing-in ceremony, each of the members was given an opportunity to speak and share their experience, let alone what they can bring to the National Fisheries Authority Board.
And by virtue of the office that I represent, I'm part of the Special Procurement Committee for NFA. My expectations are that the reason why I'm part of the committee is to ensure that public funds are well spent through the NFA, through its projects, its tenders. So the reason why we're having a Special Procurement Committee is, and we're given that status as a Special Procurement Committee, is because we are seen to be, and we have the capacity, and we are seen to be capable of doing procurements up to 5 million within NFA.
Further alluding to that was Samson Methofa, who said they are happy to partner with NFA.
Every procurement of the national government will now go through National Procurement Commission through the National Procurement Act. So if you see the Public Finance Management Act, you will see that a lot of provisions relating to procurement has been removed and now put in National Procurement Act. So we are very happy to be partnering with NFA. Like I said, no statutory authorities, no provincial governments, even DDAs and national government departments, you cannot operate outside of NPC and outside of the National Procurement Act.
Another SPC member, Laurie Williams, said work can now commence and budget projects can be implemented.
So I'm very, very happy that we finally come to this space where we can now get this process out of the way and our guys can start implementing the budget and start funding the core business of NFA, what we're mandated to do moving forward.
Managing Director for NFA, Justin Ilakini, said it is important that projects can now be implemented as well as reforms for the government.
For me, swearing of this committee and the setting up this committee is restoring governance framework back to the NFA, where we will now be able to be very accountable and hopefully in time we'll be able to improve our governance level as part of assessments of all departments and agencies.
He added that he is excited to work side by side now with the new committee in place. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Still on the National Fisheries Authority, and they are set to build an office at Walum in Imbongu District, Southern Highlands Province. This was announced recently by a senior NFA officer at Bonga Primary School in Lower Cowgirl LLG of Tambul Nibilia District, Western Highlands Province, during the opening of a NFA-funded classroom. National Fisheries Authority Corporate Social Responsibility Manager Stephen Menba, when officiating the opening of the double classroom, encouraged people to practice inland fish farming as well. He told the students and parents of Bonga Village that those who could not make it further in education should not give up hope, but consider utilizing the freshwater sources available for fish farming.
So, and currently we are trying to build a fisheries office complex in Imbongu. So last month we went to Imbongu. The building is going to be soon, it's going to be up shortly. It's going to cost 1.5 million.
It is understood that neighboring Imbongu district in Southern Highlands Province has secured the trust from NFA to set up office which would boost fish farming there. Imbongu LLG President Tapoye Natil, who was also invited to attend the classroom opening at Bonga Primary School, told the people of Lower Cowgirl LLG to get into fish farming like what Imbongu is doing.
Fish work, you will not know about the resources here. You will not buy stuff and that does. What are two stuff? Now fish and one bar. It don't know. Everlasting resources you will meeting also.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. We continue with more national news, and the National Fisheries Authority recently opened a new double classroom at Bonga Primary School in Lower Cowgirl LLG of Tambul Nibilia District, Western Highlands Province. The classroom was built through NFA's Corporate Social Responsibility Program. National Fisheries Authority Corporate Social Responsibility Manager Stephen Menba arrived with the provincial and district education heads, along with the District Development Authority CEO and other delegates. The people of Bonga welcomed the group with traditional sing-sing and joy as they celebrated the opening of their new classroom. According to Mr. Menba, NFA has been assisting other government agencies and sectors like health, police, military through the Corporate Social Responsibility Program, and building classrooms was also part of it. He says NFA funds worthwhile programs that would help communities.
So,
he urged the people to take care of the classroom and other school properties. Meanwhile, on behalf of the staff, parents and students, head teacher Francis Neal expressed appreciation, adding he had been struggling with developing the remote school and NFA assistance was timely. He encouraged students and parents that the classroom will now produce a lot more educated elite from Bonga area.
You come up with plenty inside the classroom, and I need the classroom. Good provision you got. You saw team education, we got diplomas. This like it doesn't become in, doesn't grow. Bonga and need the building. We got diplomas. Thank you, National Fisheries Authority.
NFA has been supporting schools in other parts of the country as well under the Corporate Social Responsibility Program. Kairuku Member of Parliament Peter Isoaimo says tailings from the Tolokuma gold mine in the Goilala district flow down to the St. Joseph's Angabanga River, which has affected his people. And he, along with his DDA, are now looking at dredging as a possible option to mitigate the flooding that occurs.
30 years of mining at the Tolokuma gold mine in the Alga Valley of the Goilala electorate has seen tailings flow down the St. Joseph's Angabanga River, which has led to the build-up of sediment, which has caused the local member for Kairuku looking at dredging as an alternative solution.
The river is deepened, so, the current flows faster and the whole water flows out into the ocean without having to run everywhere like it's doing now. So my DDA saw the need for that, and so we're embarking on that currently. We are applying through Department of Mining for the licenses and permits.
The member explained that he is now taking measures with his District Development Authority.
As soon as those are granted, we're bringing in some friends or investors, a Chinese company actually, a Hong Kong-based Beijing company to come in and do that. They do it around the world, so they have skills and the technical know-how and the equipment, the big ships to come in and start dredging the river. So, we hope that solves the problem of flooding in the Mekeo Plains.
Once the licenses are approved, the Chinese company will be tasked to carry out the dredging work.
So, it's causing havoc now with, flash floods and even heavy rain up in the mountains. The people in the lowlands of Mekeo Plain are always caught by surprise, with flooding and everything else. So one way of solving that problem is to dredge the whole river, at least 60 kilometers of the river from the river mouth at Koreke all the way up as far as Rarai and
In 2007, the country's mining department said it would have discussions with the Environment Department and the then Tolokuma mine developer, Emperor Mines, about the company's tailing system at Tolokuma Gold Mine. An independent study conducted at the time found that high levels of toxic metals had been found in the blood samples of people living along rivers in the central province. Since that time, the practice of dumping tailings into rivers has been ceased, with proper practices followed. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
Still in the Central Province, and the Kairuku MP Pita Iso Aimo has described the Veimauri and Vanapa bridges as ticking time bombs for disaster to happen in his electorate along the main Hiritano Highway. The bridges are in need of urgent repair due to environmental damages, overloading and damage done by oversized machinery attempting to cross over.
In the Central Province, there are two highways. The Magi Highway, which runs from Port Moresby back eastward, serving Rigo and About District. And then there is the Hiritano Highway, which runs from Port Moresby westward, serving Kairuku and Goilala districts. The Hiritano Highway connects the Central Province to the Gulf Province and is the major supply route for fresh vegetables, coffee, betel nuts and other cash crops into Port Moresby. The current state of the Hiritano Highway, starting from Loloki after the bridge, then towards Dasiyama, Sapusa and then toward Brown River Bridge, and the stretch from Brown River Bridge to the Vanapa Bridge and then toward Veimauri Bridge, is a concern for the local MP.
Veimauri Bridge is bordering Hirikoyari and Kairuku electorates. The erosion, as it lies now, poses risk for travelling public. And the Minister for Works, the good Minister for Works, Honourable Solon Mirison, was with me on or about November last year and made commitments, but it seems progress of work is pretty slow.
The Kairuku MP, in speaking on the Veimauri Bridge, said not all vehicles can cross.
And still poses a risk to travelling public, whereby only vehicles under 10 ton are allowed to cross the bridge.
The MP shared the same sentiments of disappointment for the Vanapa Bridge.
Recently, it's been wrecked by overloading of machinery and equipment by contractor Dekanai Construction, and it still lies in the same state. So we are risking people's lives every day.
The Hiritano Highway is a national asset built during the Chanhai Veta government, and before a major accident occurs, urgent maintenance and repair work must be carried out on the two bridges. Rocky Iso, National EMTV News.
The Voice Inc. is calling for applications for the Problem-Driven Iterative Adaptation, or PDIA, online action learning program by the Building State Capability Team at the Center for International Development at Harvard University. This program is a key component of TVI, funded by the Australian government. A short introduction to the program was held today at the Voice Inc. head office in downtown Port Moresby. Papua New Guinea has many societal problematic issues that need addressing at all levels. This civil society organization is reaching out through its alternative program to empower citizens to build a sustainable future. Today, during a soft launch on their online action learning Harvard program called the Problem-Driven Iterative Adaptation, which calls for around 4 to 6 people in teams to research and work in the areas of sorcery accusation-related violence, or SAV, youth unemployment and pathways, drug and alcohol abuse among young people, and improving democracy through national elections. The Voice Inc. Senior Programs Manager Barbara Elias further elaborated on the program.
Could be a powerful tool that brings together different people with a shared interest in solving a common problem, and then facilitating the space where they can be given the tools and the resources to think about how they could come together to work on unpacking that problem and then developing solutions for that collectively. Solutions could be at the community level or even at the government structural level, and seeing how we can engage with the problem at different levels. So we think that it's important because over the years we see PNG has a lot of complex problems that we're faced with. And the challenge is, what would it take to bring different groups of people together to work together to solve these problems?
Barbara highlighted the application process.
If you're working on an issue that's not covered by those 4 themes, but you think that it drives a very important developmental agenda, then please submit your application. Tell us why it's important and why why you think you need to participate in the program to support your issue area, reform area.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2810 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2735 $0.4066 Australian dollars, $0.2431 euro, 38.86 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed higher, copra closed higher, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading higher, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. We continue with overseas news now, and Russia's President Vladimir Putin says the organizers of the short-lived rebellion over the weekend will be brought to justice for what he describes as a criminal activity.
Well, it was a video statement. It appeared to be pre-recorded. It was very short, not much detail in there. It went out after about 10 p.m. Moscow time, so quite late at night. I think the most significant thing that he said was that the organisers of the mutiny will be brought to justice, and he called their actions criminal activity which is aimed at weakening the country. I thought it was very significant that he did not mention Prigozhin by name. Also, if he's going to bring those people to justice, you would think it would be Prigozhin. And we got the sense on the weekend that there had been some deal struck that he would not face criminal charges. So that was pretty significant. And he also appeared to blame outside forces as well. I think we'll probably see a little bit of this. Apparently, Russian intelligence agencies are investigating whether Western spy agencies were somehow behind this. President Biden got ahead of those kind of statements today, and he said, look, this is an internal Russian struggle. It's got nothing to do with the West. So I think we can expect that to play out a little bit in the coming days as well.
Flying its own flag. The Wagner Group says it's been central to Russia's so-called special military operation in Ukraine. Its moment of triumph came in May, when it said it captured the city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine after months of intense fighting with Ukrainian forces. The Russian Ministry of Defense says Wagner fighters must be absorbed into the army by the weekend, but it's not even clear if they're still on the front lines. Wagner's record is far from clean. Wagner has been accused of carrying out human rights abuses in a number of places in Ukraine, including Bucha, which has become a symbol of some of the worst atrocities of this war. But this isn't the only conflict where they've been accused of targeting civilians. Thousands of miles away in the Central African Republic and Mali, the UN says they've carried out summary executions and torture. Wagner has worked in Africa for almost a decade, provides private security for presidents, and fights insurgents. It often claims its operatives are only instructors hired to train local armed forces.
Wagner, as I understand it, has...
But analysts say the company's security operation is only half the picture.
So Wagner's operational strategy over the past 2 to 3 years has really been to expand both its military and economic footprint in Africa. So it has a network of companies associated with it by which it pursues commercial activities in the countries where it operates. And they've been looking to expand that.
The Israel government has approved the construction of almost 6,000 new housing units for settlers in the occupied West Bank.
The units are at various planning stages and it's not immediately clear when construction will begin. The Israeli government has now given the green light to more than 13,000 new homes in settlements this year. Palestinian authorities consider settlement construction illegal or illegitimate and as obstacles to peace.
A new report by a Melbourne legal service suggests fines for COVID-19 breaches were 4 times more likely to be issued to Victorians of African and Middle Eastern appearances.
These came from internal police records of all 37,000 fines that were issued to people who had breached COVID-19 rules during 2020. And for about 3/4 of them, the fining officer also listed the racial appearance, which is why we can actually break down these figures. They were obtained under Freedom of Information laws by Melbourne Community Legal, and the entire data set has been verified by ABC News. And in that, it shows that of the people where the racial appearance was identified, about 20% of the people receiving fines were of Middle Eastern or African appearance, even though they're only about 5% of the population. We have heard from one of the racial profiling researchers, Dr. Tamar Hopkins. She helped Melbourne Community Legal to obtain and analyse this data, and she says that it clearly shows disproportionate policing and also evidence of police racial profiling. And she told News Breakfast this morning that this relates to needing to actually go behind the outcomes and look at the sorts of fines that people were getting. So that 20% figure for when the police stopped and questioned people can be contrasted with a fine, for example, like not wearing your face mask, where it's blatantly obvious. And for that, where racial appearance was noted, the Middle Eastern and African cohort made up about 12.5% of those fines. This is what she had to say about police racial profiling.
If someone's not wearing a face mask and there is a face mask requirement, it's clear that they've committed an offence. You don't need to question them. It's visually apparent. Whereas other offences like are you inside your 5 kilometre radius, are you out for one of the prescribed reasons, all require questioning of that individual. And so what we did was we compared the rate that white people to African Middle Eastern people were subject to these different kinds of fines. And we found that African and Middle Eastern people were issued with proportionately more fines that required questioning. So that really goes to the heart of racial profiling. In racial profiling, you find a suspect and then you question them to see if you can identify an offence.
One of the biggest worries for remote Indigenous leaders is seeing their young people sliding into a life of welfare dependency. For years, the Australian federal government's key prevention policies failed, but some communities say changes are starting to take place.
For years, Indigenous communities have been telling the federal government its remote work for the Dole Community Development Programme is failing. That 4 hours a day of work-like activities wasn't training them for real jobs, and Centrelink payments aren't enough.
It's hard. Sometimes we have to struggle to get food.
So the federal government is trialling improvements to the programme in Minyeri and dozens of other places around Australia, funding Indigenous organisations to offer full-time work and top-up pay as well as the dole, and better training so people have a chance to secure some of the few jobs available in these communities.
I'm finding it good, because I'll get up and do something every morning.
Instead of just doing the same activities in circles, we all getting sick and tired of doing the same activities. We want to do more.
But the Indigenous organisation running the trial in Manyeri says it's worried the federal government hasn't told it how long the new scheme will be funded for. The federal government has told the ABC the CDP trial will continue nationally until October next year. It says the results of trials around the country, including Manyeri's, will be used to inform the design of the new model.
There is no reason why we can't have more creativity, more getting people ready for employment and more training in CDP.
People here are hoping the better conditions being trialled remain in the final design.
I love to keep going till we find a real proper job here.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sport. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And the Port Moresby Rugby League President James Naipao has put on notice that all teams playing in the competition round 2 matches will not proceed this weekend until every club sort out its player summary and must confirm and match every player that took the field since the beginning of round 1.
The oldest rugby league association in the country is calling on all clubs and players to sort out administrative issues before round 2 matches can proceed. In a social media post to all participating clubs in the 2023 Port Moresby Rugby Football League competition, 50 Kina registrations must be paid against the participating team list and summary list. Club officials are also required to register. According to the president and chairman for the Port Moresby Rugby Football League, James Naipao, round 2 matches are on hold until this is imminently sorted out as a matter of priority for the responsible clubs. For the A grade, 1 washout game and 1 full rematch game will be played respectively this weekend to complete round 1 in full. Should clubs have any queries, they're required to head to the White House at the Santos Football Stadium on Oval 2 or call Port Moresby RFL Administrator Meke Maino. Rocky Iso, Trukai Sports.
The Olympic Committee, recently meeting with the athletes, has been working closely with the national federations, PNG Sports Foundation and the PNG High Performance Sports in getting the athletes ready for the upcoming Pacific Games in November in Solomon Island later this year. Currently, athletes are preparing both the Sir John Guy Stadium and their respective venues, as well as the PNG High Performance Gym. For now, though, athletes' main focus is priority in training as they prepare for the Pacific Games in Solomon Island. Team PNG is expected to take a big contingent to Solomon Island in November and hoping that upon winning the mini games, Team PNG can finally this time win the Pacific Games. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. Moving to overseas sports now, and Australia has taken charge of the Women's Ashes series, knocking off England by 89 runs overnight at Trent Bridge.
That win gives the tourists 4 points in the multi-format series, which puts them well ahead in their bid to hold on to the urn as the series moves to the limited over formats of the game. Ashley Gardner was awarded player of the match. She was brilliant, taking 8 for 66 in the 4th innings after a 4-wicket haul in the first to give her a 12-wicket haul across the course of the match. That is the best of all time by an Australian woman.
The Australian Opals have dominated the Philippines in the opening match of the Women's Basketball Asian Cup.
Darcy Garvin scored 18 points, leading the way to produce a final score of 105 to the Philippines' 34. Opals coach Shannon Seaborn says the 71-point victory was a well-rounded performance at all ends of the court.
Australian Ajla Tomjanovic will not be competing at the Wimbledon this year due to a knee injury.
The country's top-ranked 30-year-old has withdrawn due to a knee injury after reaching the quarter-finals for the past 2 years. She, along with Nick Kyrgios, are two players who have suffered those knee injuries. Nick Kyrgios, we still aren't sure whether or not he will be playing. But in better news for Australian fans, Jordan Thompson has qualified for the second round of the Mallorca Open. He knocked off Frenchman Richard Gasquet in straight sets.
The AFL has admitted that the Crows shouldn't been given a free kick in front of the goal in the final seconds of their heartbreaking loss to Collingwood.
If the free had been given, Jordan Dawson would have had a chance to win the game for the Adelaide Crows after the siren with a kick from almost directly in front. The league says the umpires had a restricted view of the contest and they do concede the incorrect call was made. The 2-point loss left the Crows clinging onto a top 8 spot with 9 matches remaining.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And now looking at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City mostly fine, although partly cloudy. Daru cloudy periods with possible brief showers. Kerema and Alatau cloudy periods. Popondetta cloudy periods with possible brief showers. In Momasa region, Lay City cloudy periods with few evening showers. Madang cloudy periods. Wewak cloudy periods with few showers. Vanimo rain showers and possible thunderstorms, then cloudy. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau cloudy with some showers and possible thunderstorms. Kavieng cloudy periods with few showers. Kokopo and Rabaul cloudy periods with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Kimbe cloudy periods with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Buka cloudy periods with possible brief showers. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City partly cloudy with brief showers. Goroka and Kundiawa partly cloudy with brief showers. Mendi and Wabeg partly cloudy with patchy showers.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Tuesday, the 27th of June 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.